good to go.
Okay, perfect. Because I do know there's a couple other people that had, I mean, a lot of people were super excited about this.
Yeah.
And they're cramming because
Oh,
they're
for like, oh,
CE
yup. Yeah, because when is it all due by?
Monday.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, fair enough. So I assume that would be the case. The nice thing about this class, and I started the recording, so we're good to go, is that it's a pretty simple process once you understand like how to put a custom smart plan together. But the nicest part is, for Mike, you'll get the email after this, but then for anybody watching this later, if you reach out, and Wendy, I'll send you the links too. We'll be able to share the links from the lead follow-up idea from Zillow, which has scripts, the lead follow-up from Nick himself, which is the one that I'm going to follow today.
Perfect.
But it's nice and it's generally pretty easy to follow. So today shouldn't be overly complicated. It's just kind of figuring out the quirks of the system, which I feel like is, pretty standard.
Yep.
So
Yep. Awesome. And as long as we have like a step-by-step and Mike or whoever else comes on or watches this can follow along and create it with us as we go, so that when we're done with this, they've got a functional smart plan. That's the goal.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
Perfect. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, and I'm going to, okay, yeah, I think we're good. Hello, Maureen. I see that you just joined. Okay. Cool. So if you, anybody watching, anybody on the call saw either from Wendy or from me today, we did both send out like the how to set up a Twilio to connect to your command account, which if you haven't done it, I definitely recommend it. It's Wendy and I, Wendy looked into it. Thank you for that, Wendy. And it's only like, it's less than a penny to send a single text message. So for every 100 text messages you send, it's only 70 cents. That's wild. So especially if, you're not necessarily using it to text everyone in your database 24/7, it's going to end up being a pretty affordable marketing tool. So, I will send this link out as well after this class, along with those lead follow-up plans with those scripts. So just keep an eye out for that if you're on the call. If you haven't already, just a quick note, if you need to set up your Twilio account, that just happens when you click your name up in the top right and then go to settings. You'll be able to connect an existing account, start a new account from there. So pretty straightforward process. Definitely recommend it. Just a note, this is a dummy account that I use, so it doesn't actually have Twilio set up, but you'll actually see a very clear difference in between if you are using Twilio versus if you aren't. So it'll help clarify that a little bit. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pop into Smart Plans. So that's this tab right here. What I'm going to be doing today, you may have already heard Wendy and I talk about it. I'm going to be following a Facebook lead smart plan directly from Nick Baldwin. He came out with this a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Super great document, tons of scripts, and he has it formatted specifically for Keller agents, which is the best part, including when to set delays, how long the delays are for. I'm also going to be sending you this version from Zillow, which also has scripts, different ideas, but obviously this is a little bit more Zillow focused, so you're going to have to change some of those scripts. It doesn't have like the KW format kind of in mind, but it definitely does have good tips in there. So keep an eye out for that. Once you are in the Smart Plans section of Command, what you're going to want to do is hit this Create button up in the top right. And then it's going to ask for a plan name. So I'm just going to call this Facebook Lead Follow Up Example. So once you do that, it's taking you right into the Smart Plan Editor. And as you can see, I'm getting a big red button right at the top. It just disappeared saying your Twilio account is not connected. So where that starts to actually affect things, and I'm going to move this over to my other screen so I can follow along with it. But where this becomes, you know, a difference in how you build your smart plan is either this create task button or the send SMS MMS. So the first step of Nick Baldwin's Facebook Lead Smart Plan is to send a text message. So you're seeing this, you're thinking, okay, well, that's the step I'm supposed to include. So when you want to include a step, you click right on it. However, because I don't have Twilio set up, you can see right here, it's saying, please set up your Twilio account to automate. If I go through, build this whole smart plan, think it's ready to go, and I don't have Twilio set up, it's not gonna let me save it. So that's a huge thing to be aware of. If you are planning on doing any sort of Twilio account, sign up for that first and then build your smart plan, just to make sure you don't spend all this time doing it only for it not to actually be able to save properly, etc. However, there is a workaround. So if at any point you accidentally add a smart plan step, you do have a couple different options here. You can save it if you want to make sure you're saving your progress. You can delete it. You can move it up or down to reorder your steps. So I'm just going to delete this one. And then if you're not using Twilio, what you're going to do instead is this create task. So I'm just going to click on that. Basically what this is instead of an automatic text message that goes out, whereas like if you're using Twilio, you have this set up, that text message is going to go out as soon as you set up this person on the smart plan. So basically, if you're not using Twilio, it's just making it a little bit more tedious, I would say, because you're going to have to, it's going to give you the alert in command, but then you're going to have to manually go and contact this person. So that's just what you want to be aware of there. For this purpose, I am going to go through and show the create task option. That what you'll notice is if I do this send SMS MMS, this one is so much simpler. So it'll have it set up to your Twilio account. All you have to do is put in the text that you want to include, and making sure you're including merge fields, which I'll show you in a second. Message type isn't super relevant for this specific smart plan. Static basically means like whenever you put somebody on this smart plan, they're going to get the exact same intro message. Dynamic is more so for smart plans where you may repeat somebody on it. I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe if you set up your own like purchase anniversary smart plan, which I think is already existing in there, but something that they're going to get more than once. So with a dynamic one, you could set up to 6 different text intros, which is kind of nice. So it'll cycle through those versus sending that same repetitive message. Like I said, for this lead smart plan specifically, that's not really going to be relevant for you because you're probably only going to be putting them on this once. And then when they're done here, you'll probably kind of go from there, figuring out how you'll communicate with them in the future. So I want to make sure I showed you the difference between the send SMS versus the create task. The create task, as I mentioned, slightly more tedious, more you got to do here. So first, we're going to be calling this a touch task because it involves you specifically reaching out to a client. The task name, we're going to say text leads. Task description. So this is where I would put exactly from those scripts, copy and paste them into here. So you can't see me doing it, but I'm copying the text from the Nick Baldwin playbook, pasting it in here. So now I can see why this is helpful is you'll get that notification that you have to make this touch. You'll have all the text in there. You can just essentially copy and paste it. However, what you have to be aware of is when you're not using Twilio, you're going to have to manually change these merge tags. So when you're using Twilio, what you end up doing is you select a merge field, contact first name, and you can see when it's got that blue box around it, that means it's going to automatically include that contact's first name based on how you have it written in command. This merge tag obviously not going to work because I'm going to have to manually send this text message. So please, please, please write that down if you're not going to be using Twilio, that to make sure you're not sending like, hi, contact first name, etc. So that probably wouldn't be a great look for you. So just be aware of that. But the other thing to be aware of is that while Nick did put together obviously really great scripts, you are obviously free to edit that however you need to. So sometimes it's based on, you know, just like how you run your business. It might be a little bit different. So also make sure you're reading through these. You like the way it's worded, you're editing it if you need to, what have you. We don't need to add a hyperlink for this, but I guess that is kind of nice. If you know you're going to want to send them a link to something, you can add the hyperlink there, so you'll be able to copy and paste that easily as well. When it says due in however many days, since this is the first task of your smart plan, I'm going to have it set for today, meaning as soon as I touch this or put this contact on the smart plan, that touch will go out immediately, or at least notify you immediately to reach out to this person. So I'm going to do a quick pause. For those of you on the call, any questions on that? I know it may have been a little confusing seeing both the SMS version and the create task version, but just so far, do you understand like the difference between those when you're going to use one versus another?
That was awesome, Mary.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll keep it going. So once I have my task set up, I'm going to save it just because I'm paranoid. What if my computer, you know, craps out on me? Obviously don't want that. So I'm going to save it as I go along. What I recommend just for organization purposes is closing that tab so you can see you have it created, but you're not, you know, scrolling through and seeing like the full details of every task once you've created it. So that was the first task. As I mentioned, you are going to have to start that, or you're going to have to do it yourself if you're using the create task versus the send SMS, MMS. And you'll also see at the top here, it says trigger manually. What that means is this is not set up in command yet, that as soon as you have a Facebook lead come in, that you'll get that smart plan will just start. So far, that's not a thing. It's something that they're working on. So eventually, you might be able to have that set up where as soon as that Facebook lead comes in, that goes out to somebody. However, in the meantime, you will have to manually add people to your smart plan. So just keep that in mind. The next task, and there's a couple different things I want to touch on here. So if you were in the class with Joe, which was awesome. So if you haven't actually seen it, if you weren't able to attend, it is on the Office YouTube page. So if you look up KW, I think it's KW Premier Realty or Lake Minnetonka, right, Wendy? If I'm not mistaken.
You know, you're right, Mary. It is.
Okay.
I'll pull it up so I can tell you exactly what it is. And I periodically send out the link to everybody.
Yes, yep. But that YouTube page is awesome. So if you haven't watched Joe's class, highly recommend that. But something that he mentions as a tip is not only doing a text message that first day, but also doing a call. So that's another option. You can do as many tasks on any day as you want. So if you wanted to, you could add a new action before setting a delay for the next day. But following Nick's, he says, set the delay for 1 day before doing our next task. So make sure, please make sure that if you want this to last for a period of multiple days, you have to set delays. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click on that. It's going to let me choose how many days I want to delay it. In this case, and per kind of Joe's suggestion, as he calls it, the 10 days of pain, this is essentially like touches every single day for 10 days. So I'm going to leave this as a 1 day delay, but you can do up to 30 days if you're doing a custom smart plan. So that's kind of nice, just depending on, you know, what kind of contact you're trying to do, why you're contacting, etc. So I have my delay. I don't have to do anything else here. I'm going to save it, minimize. Now I can see I have that delay. And something kind of cool that you'll notice up here at the top is that as you're adding tasks, as you're adding delays, it kind of gives you a little breakdown of what the smart plan includes. So far, it's 2 different days. It's 2 different steps, only 1 touch. So keep an eye on that breakdown as you're going along. It's just, for me, it's kind of nice to see that just for organization purposes. So the next step in Nick's plan is sending an email. So we're going to choose this send email option. A couple different options. You can just do a simple email, or if you know coding, or if you want to use any sort of like command email template, you can do that. The email templates in command, other than the newsletter, aren't super ready to go, in my opinion. I think your simple email is going to be the best option here. So up until that kind of stuff gets a little bit more updated, I would stick with simple email. It's going to have whatever email you have in your marketing profile. So that marketing profile, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it and drone on and on, but it's very important making sure that that's updated, has your preferred contact info, etc. For the subject, he recommends doing just an easy thank you. Once again, you don't have to follow this to the exact verbiage. If you want to jazz up the subject line a little bit more, I did send out after my email newsletter class like a list of different subject line ideas. So if you want that, reach out to me. But that's what he uses for his. And then once again, I'm going to copy and paste the text directly from, oops, I missed a part, directly from Nick's document. So he starts it with, hi, contact first name. So what you want to make sure you do is swap this out for the actual like clickable merge tag. So Nick includes this because this is exactly what it looks like in the system, like when it's got that interactive blue box, but you do have to go in there and actually add it because it's not going to work if you don't. So you don't want it saying, hi, contact first name. So make sure you actually go in and add the merge tag that you want. So keeping that in mind. Next, I'm going to read through this. I texted you yesterday about the homes that you looked at that I put on Facebook, but I wasn't sure if I had the right number for you. Is contact phone. We're going to go in here. We're going to add contact phone. Is contact phone a good number? Thank you for looking at those homes, by the way. Are there any questions you might have or neighborhoods you'd like more information on that I could email or text to you? So obviously, this is verbiage that you're going to be using for specifically a Facebook lead follow-up. But keep in mind that obviously, if that's not what your smart plan is kind of focused on, change the verbiage if you need to. It just says your signature. As of right now, there's no like auto-populated signature that can get added. So basically, it's just a good reminder for yourself to add your own signature. So I'm just going to do my name and say like realtor. I do the little, oops, nope, it's not going to let me do my little keyboard shortcut to get the little R. So keep that in mind. Realtor, KW, blah, blah, blah. Enter your contact information, etc. Something that is very interesting is that when these emails go out, if you don't include like some space underneath your signature, legitimately right under that signature, it's an unsubscribe link. So my tip to you is just do this like little dot dealio. Like if you use Instagram, you're very familiar with the dot trick. But use the dots so that, I mean, if people want to unsubscribe, they're going to unsubscribe. However, don't make it so easy for them where that button literally shows up immediately under your information. So keep that in mind. It's something we discovered from sending ourselves a test email. So
very smart, Mare. Thanks for the catch.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to make it at least a little difficult for them to unsubscribe. Another thing to note is that you do see some formatting options up here. So if you wanted to, you could bold things, you can italicize, you can have bullet points. So jazz it up if you need to. So those are options, just so that you're aware.
And you could hyperlink to your name to your web, to your page.
Yes, absolutely. So adding, and I always recommend that with signatures anyway, like having a hyperlink to your website, your Facebook page, if that's what you prefer. Absolutely. Good point, Wendy. So now that I'm ready with that step, once again, I'm paranoid. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close that out. Now Nick says, set another delay. So I'm going to click set delay. Once again, I just want a 1-day delay. That took me all of 2 seconds. So just make sure you're including that step in there. His next step is to send another text message. So once again, you're deciding whether you have a Twilio account or not. If you do, you're using the send SMS. If you don't, you're creating a task and you're manually texting each and every person that you have on that smart plan. So if you haven't been convinced yet to buy Twilio, just remember that if you have 20 people on the smart plan, you're going to be individually texting 20 people. So throwing that out there, keep that in mind. And this is coming from the queen of, frugality and wanting to find deals on stuff. Like Twilio is so affordable. So
it's 0.07 cents. And, think about it. Tam Langen just got 73 leads off her last smart plan, and they're still coming in.
Oh my
so
gosh,
if she
good
has
point.
3 text messages as part of her follow-up plan, and she's getting a message every day to text 73 people.
Oh my goodness.
Individually that's the point of automating and using the leverage here so you can be moving on to other things.
100%. Oh my goodness. That's such a good point, Wendy. And first of all, that's a phenomenal amount of leads. So those, especially listing advertisements, just are killing it right now. So great point. Thank you, Wendy. So this next one, it's going to be another text. So text leads, gonna copy and paste. And don't you just love when those scripts are pretty much already written for you? Oh, makes life easy. So this one, hey again, gonna add my merge tag, contact first name. Get rid of those. Oops, I can't type.
Mary, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
If you get a Twilio account, does it help you with connecting your command contacts with, say, people that you have, the only contact information you have is that they are Facebook friends with you and have liked your business page, but you might not have any contact information on them?
So for Twilio to be useful, you have to have their phone number in command. Like that's where it's pulling that information from. I mean, it's nice because once you do, you can not even just in smart plans, but send mass text to as many contacts as you want, but it's not going to actually help you pull that information.
Okay. So there isn't something that can be used then for like your Facebook business page when you don't have, would you just suggest then reaching out to all of those people individually on Facebook for their contact information?
Absolutely. Direct message them. Create a conversation. Those are contacts. Build those relationships and say,
okay.
I'm just updating my ways of contacting you and use it as an excuse to reach out.
Totally. Okay. And Maureen, I don't remember if it was you and I that talked about this, but something that just kind of a way to look at it too, like if you are offering, I guess, not offering something of value, but just I just want to keep you updated on what's going on in the market, or just letting them know kind of a valuable reason as to why you're asking for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish there was something nice and easy to just pull that info. Way back in the day, which I mean, I just exaggerated by saying way back in the day, but a couple of years ago, not to make you sad, but you used to be able to export your Facebook and LinkedIn contacts, and then obviously like guidelines tightened up, and so that isn't an option anymore. But those were the days, let me tell you. Okay, so back to the texting. So this one, hey again, contact first name. I wanted to send you some info on neighborhood in whatever town you like. So in, let's say, Minnetonka, you may like called neighborhood name. So I know specifically Minnetonka Mills is a neighborhood. So this is where, if you're doing it, gosh, you guys, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So this is one that might not work for everyone, unless, if your listing is, say, in Minnetonka, your listing is in Minnetonka Mills, you could kind of get it to work for this if you're sending it out through Twilio in a mass option. But if you're going based on, people that want something, one person wants to look in Minnetonka Mills, one person is interested in Plymouth, one person is interested in Edina, you have to be aware of that, and you're going to want to alter this a little bit, because you can't send out a mass text if it's not necessarily relevant for everybody. So a couple different options of what you could do here. One, you could leave this kind of like a blank if you're not doing it, automatic Twilio messaging, and then you just know to make sure to personalize it to them a little bit. Or if, once again, if it was maybe everybody that came through your open house, they like that neighborhood, you can do it that way. That's when you could do it a more like mass text option. Or this one isn't as proactive, but you could also alter the verbiage here to say something more along the lines of, is there another neighborhood that you're interested in? Please let me know, and I'd love to send you some really cool market stats. So then at that point, it's kind of adding another step in the sense of like, they then have to tell you what areas they're interested in, and then you have to make a specific neighborhood snapshot graphic. So that one's, once again, a little bit more tedious, but I just want to make sure you're not sending a mass text out to somebody if like the verbiage isn't actually relevant to everyone. So just keep that in mind when you're building these out. And the nice thing is, obviously, you have a lot of flexibility with how you do this, because if you have a Twilio or if you don't, you technically could do Twilio, or if you do have a Twilio, you can do Twilio tasks where it does send out a mass email, and then maybe a task reminding you to do something more personalized for everybody. But if you just want it simple, you want to not have to reach out to 73 people at a time, just make sure the verbiage in here is going to be relevant to everybody. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have questions on that, let me know. I'm happy to brainstorm with you different scripts or different ways on how to do that. But we're just going to go with this, pretending that everybody here went to this open house in Minnetonka Mills. They loved it. And then you see here, I thought you might like to see what's going on there market-wise. So it's a reminder to you, and you could actually add it as a hyperlink here, to create maybe a neighborhood snapshot landing page. So if you've never made a landing page in Command, let us know, because they're pretty neat. But it's a really nice value add to those people that you got as leads on Facebook. Did you want to add anything to that, Wendy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in this case, let's say you were running an ad for a specific property in Minnetonka Mills. You could take all the leads that come in from that, and you could pull up this smart plan as a template and rename it Minnetonka Mills Smart Plan.
Absolutely.
And then you would go in there and put that specific information, because all the leads that are coming in are related to that property that you were specifically advertising. So you could have a, 10 days of paying smart plan, and then you could save it. I think you can duplicate it, right?
You should be able to duplicate it. Yep.
And then you could save it. So you could use it as a template and say, take all the leads that come in and put them on the 10 days of paying Minnetonka Mills plan. And then the one thing you would do is, before you start them on that, you'd go in and make those specific edits to those texts.
Wendy, I love that idea. And that is one thing that any system that offers like the duplication option is the best thing ever. And that's pretty much, you can do that with all the other features in Command. So you should be able to do that with smart plans. But that would definitely make life easy.
Like with with your campaigns,
right?
You could say you could duplicate those and tweak them. So I'm assuming.
And we'll double check that at the end here, because we'll be able to see the full list. So I'll definitely double check that. But that's a great idea, because then everything else is set up. The verbiage is probably fine. You're just maybe changing the neighborhood, the city, what have you. So I love that idea. So in this sense, we're going to leave it kind of like this. This one is probably where you're going to see the most individual personalization, I would say, if you're kind of following Nick's guide. I'm going to have it happen today, or the day that I have it delayed for. So now I can see updated here. I'm a total of 3 days so far, with 5 steps, 3 touches. Nick's plan then says actually do a delay of 2 days. I'm going to leave it up to you guys in regards to if you want to do at least 1 touch every single day. Most definitely. But just following Nick's plan, he's going to say 2 days. So I'm going to set my delay. I'm going to do 2, save it. Great. Okay. So I can see that updated. The next one is kind of interesting. So he's doing another text message. So in my case, I'm doing create task, touch, text, oops. And this one, hi again, contact first name. I hope I'm not being a pest. I want to make sure you're being taken care of. There are some recent price reductions in the area that you were looking in, and I want to text those to you. Should I send them via text? So this is, once again, it might be a little bit personalized now. So when it's coming to your conversations with these people, if they're texting you back already and they're like into it, they've already said, yes, I love this, send me more info, make sure you take them off the smart plan if you're going to send this to them. Because if they're not responding to you, this is when this kind of message is a little bit more relevant, because you're like acknowledging like, yep, you're reaching out to them, they're not reaching out back to you. So if somebody actually makes an effort, reaches back out to you on this smart plan using this specific kind of verbiage and guide, please make sure to take them off, because at that point you've already started a rapport with them. And you probably don't need to keep them on here if they're already either working with you or what have you, or you just want to make sure you change your verbiage. You could maybe say, hi again, and maybe just take out this section if you want it to maybe work for everybody. So this is, again, where you kind of have to start thinking in regards to how it works for everybody. So your choices are kind of, do you want to take people off the smart plan if they're starting to talk to you, build rapport, what have you, or do you just want it to be generic enough that it can go to every single person? So just keep that in mind there as well. So in this situation, let's just say I take that out. There were some recent price reductions in the area you were looking in, and I wanted to text those to you. Should I send them via text? So how is he doing this? Well, if you go on your command website and you're using the search functionality, what you can filter by price reductions, and like I think it's like the past 7 days. So at that point, you filter by price reductions in that specific area. You now have a link that when you send that link to everybody, that it's not just going to go back to the generic search where they can search for whatever. And I mean, they can. However, the page is going to be set on that where price reductions in Minnetonka Mills, for example. So that's a really cool feature if you aren't already using that with your command website. That's even something you could post on your social media if you want to show price reductions in this area. Anytime people click on that link, they'll see that exact search that you started on your website. And then it's a reason for them to be on your website. So good stuff all around. So that's kind of what Nick is talking about in regards to what he's doing here. So absolutely utilizing that functionality too. Okay, so that one's good. The next one, he sets a delay for 1 day. Good to go there. And you can kind of see, it's exciting to see this, start to build a little bit more. Like, we've got a pretty solid smart plan set up at this point. His next step is another text message. He's really heavy on the text message. If you want, you can throw in another email here or there, or another call, depending on, your preferred form of communication. I think text message is really smart just because it's probably people's quickest and preferred form of communication. But once again, this is something that could be edited if you wanted to turn one of those text messages into an email, or turn that into a reason to call somebody. So just keep that in mind, that you do have that as an option to do, a whole bunch of different things like that. So his next step is another text message. So I'm going to copy that, paste that. So once again, this is him considering people who have not gotten back to them or gotten back to him. So he says, I didn't hear back, so I thought I would send those price reductions your way. So he's just automatically doing it at this point. These are homes in Minnetonka Mills that have been reduced in the past 7 days that may be more negotiable than the newer listings. You add that link to your website where it has those price reductions. So I'm gonna beat a dead horse here, but making my point from before, if you've started a communication with somebody and they've gotten back to you, they're now talking to you regularly, please, please, please make sure you take them off the smart plan so that this doesn't go out to them and they're like, wait, what are you talking about? We've been talking about this already. So, and I would also recommend using, and this is what Nick says too, for your links, using something like Bitly to shorten them a little bit. Typically, with like iOS, like if you're texting iPhone to iPhone, it's not really an issue because it automatically turns that link into like a clickable image. But I'm not as sure of the connection between maybe like an iPhone and a Samsung or a Samsung to an iPhone. So just to make sure you don't have like this super, super long link, utilizing something like Bitly, bitly.com to shorten your links. So that's that step. Good to go there. Next, I'm also going to, same day, maybe, yeah, how many days are we? 6 days? Maybe today I send an email as well. So now I'm going to add 2 tasks to a single day. So I'm going to click send an email. These are happening still both on day 6. And Nick specifies too, you're sending an email right around the same time with the exact same verbiage. I would maybe alter the verbiage a little bit so that it doesn't seem like you're literally just texting and pasting, but the concept is the same. So I could go in here, I could copy this, paste it in here, and maybe just alter the verbiage a little ways to show that, you know, you're trying to get in touch with them both ways. Subject line could be price reductions in whatever area, blah, 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 blah. So that's his recommendation, is doing the email and the text. You might hit them one way, they might be more responsive, you know, what have you. So then he says, set another delay. Gonna do a 2-day delay, oops. And then he's going to do another text message, so create task. So this one is a little bit controversial. He calls it his Keller mortgage text. We're gonna call it just a mortgage text. So this could work whether you're using Keller Mortgage or you're using pretty much any mortgage company. You
like
probably want to make
American Funding, even
like New American Funding, exactly. So in this situation, like say you want them to meet Tanya, what you would do is, and I mean, we have a lot of benefits too. So if you're wondering like, how can I sell people? We have an on-time closing guarantee. We underwrite up front, so you can change the verbiage a little bit if you need to. And I mean, that's pretty important anyway, is chances, I mean, you would hope that if they're coming through your open or they're reaching out to you, like, and they're actively looking, that they would be pre-approved, but not always the case, as I'm sure you've all learned. So in this situation, you could just touch on the fact of making sure they're pre-approved. They're ready to go for that, altering the verbiage to work with, like, I'm just going to change this right now. I wanted to let you know the homes you looked at may qualify for a New American. I can't type when I know people are watching me, you guys. Approval with Tanya Sample. I would love to put you in touch with her if you haven't gotten pre-approved yet. She is awesome. She's the best. I am obviously not biased at all. So that's another one, and definitely a good check-in, and just kind of selling them on something a little bit more, catching their attention with something maybe not necessarily directly related to their home search, but kind of what happens before that. So mortgage text. Okay. So from there, he sets another 2-day delay. So I'm going to touch on this point again. So when it comes to like the length of this, if you're looking at the Zillow version, they have it set up a little bit differently in regards to, I'll even just show you where to go. So as you can see here, they have something where you're contacting somebody in some way every single day. The way Nick is doing it is he does have a couple delays in there, so it's not necessarily an everyday thing. I think at that point, determine maybe what's the most comfortable for you. There's not necessarily like one format that works. So you could even try it both ways, do like kind of an A/B testing first with one group and then another with the second group. So just know that you do have options, and I'll send you both those links so you can figure out kind of what fits a little bit more. So then his next task after 2 days is another text message. So I'm going to create my task, and this is, he calls it kind of like a mortgage follow-up. So, hi, contact first name. I want to follow up on my mortgage text from the other day, from the other day. I have a great app that tells you how much you'll save on every home for sale. So once again, if you're using New American Funding, you can actually, this is going based off of the guides that are in your app. And if you haven't edited those guides to be a little bit more specific to you and your business, I highly recommend that. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, shoot me an email. I'm happy to walk you through that. But you can update that as well to include your preferred lender, who is hopefully Tanya. And so at that point, once again, you're making this a little bit more specific to your situation. So I'm just going to take that out. Maybe say, have you gotten a hold of Tanya? My app, maybe say my app also lets you search for homes by neighborhood, not just zip code. I realize I need a little tie into the app right here, but once again, I'm just doing this on the fly. So my app also lets you search for homes by neighborhood, not just zip code. You can download it here. So this is basically not only a mortgage follow-up, but it's a sell for your app. So I would utilize this. I would obviously change my verbiage a little bit just to make it a little bit clearer. Maybe just say, I also have a fantastic app that makes the home searching process. Oh, wow. I did not realize that was on caps. I don't recommend all caps. You would not be using all caps here. But anywho, I also have a fantastic app that makes the home searching process a breeze. Super excited about it, obviously. Gosh, that looks funny. My app also lets you search for homes by neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So a reason to download the link, make sure you're accessing where you have that app link. Add your hyperlink here if you're doing just a regular task. App download, text. Okay. So that's that one. And as you can start to sort of notice, and something that I absolutely just love that Nick does, is he is tying in so many different aspects of command here, which I think is pretty cool. Like he's utilizing the fact that you can go build individual landing pages. He's utilizing app downloads. He's utilizing looking at price reductions from your website. So he really, this is so well thought out in the sense of like really integrating so many of those different aspects. I just so smart. Oh, I love it. Okay. So if you're looking up here, obviously now we're a little bit above 10 days. So this once again comes into, just what works for your business. It doesn't have to stop at 10 days. We also had a couple 2-day delays in there. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be exactly 10 days or what have you. So he now does actually a 3-day delay after that app download. And then he does another email. So we're going to add that email task. And I'm going to grab that verbiage, pop that in there. His subject line. Oops, I just erased something. Here we go. His subject line. Did you take a look? And then he adds a merge tag for their first name. So always make sure, oops, I put that in the wrong spot. Always make sure you're adding those for email steps and SMSs. So his next email, when you registered for our site to look at homes, I set you up on some listing and neighborhood alerts. Oops, I skipped a step, you guys. And you know what? That may happen to you too. So what do you do when that happens? You delete that step. So I'm just going to press that delete button. Something else to be aware of that you may or may not have noticed while I've been doing this. So I'm looking at this, you can move them up or down. So if you if I wanted to, I could have just finished making that step and then moved it up when I was done. So if you accidentally make them out of order, you can rearrange them. It's not going to alter anything. So that is an option. So after that one, he actually sent, another text message. Delete that. And this one, he says, I hope you're having a great day. Contact first name. I noticed some open houses are popping up in areas you might be interested in. Should I text those to you or email them to you? So that is another feature of your website. I believe, Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, you can look for places that have opens scheduled. I haven't played with that feature.
I think so.
I think that's part of the search functionality. So similar to what he was doing with the price reductions, he's doing it with open houses this time. So at this point, you're sending them, you haven't sent them directly just yet. But I suppose you could change this verbiage or just send it automatically through email, totally up to you. So I'm just gonna call this open house text. Great. Then it is an email. So he does another 3-day delay after the first text message. So his is more of like I think by the end of this, it'll be more of like a 30 days of pain, but nothing wrong with that. So now I'm going to do my email task, and as long as you need to do it.
I don't think you can over follow up.
No.
I mean, that's one thing I was just hearing about this morning on a call where someone had followed up every 3 months just on a quarterly call thing, just left messages for 2 years, and then they got the call because you don't know when they're going to be ready. But if you are continuously in front of them, the likelihood is you'll be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. And that's something you could consider too. So in this situation, even if it's, I mean, the delays here, obviously you can only go up to 30 days, but after like your 10 days of pain or your initial follow-up, you could do a more long-term follow-up where it's like once every 30 days you check in with them, so there are totally ways in here to kind of make that work for you, similar to what Wendy you just said. So the next thing he says, when you registered for our site to look at homes, I set you up on some listing and neighborhood alerts. I want to check if you have been receiving those and if they are along the lines of homes and areas you're interested in. I don't want to spam you with the wrong properties. Let me know if you'd like me to adjust the searches for you. If you'd like, you can search neighborhoods and schools and more on my app right here. So you're sending the app link again. We have tons more that you won't find on Zillow. So something I want to note about this. This is assuming that people, like when you send them like that list of open houses, it's assuming that they registered on your website. So once again, this is one of those situations where you want to make sure you're checking your verbiage, that you're either taking people off if they maybe haven't done that, or you're just kind of updating this to say, I added you to my database, I set you up on a search on my website, what have you. So this is one where it's getting a little more specific. So once again, you're just making sure if it's going to be going out to everybody, that it can be specific to everybody. So just keep that in mind.
Good point.
He, at this exact same time, sends a text message. And that text message says basically the same thing. Hi, contact first name. Have you seen neighborhood and listing alerts I've sent you? Basically the same. So same point as above. Just make sure that it's relevant for them if they're actually registered on your website or not, or just change the verbiage. So his next thing, and this is pretty much the last of his plan, he sets a delay for 7 days. So I'm going to go up there. And then he finishes it off with one last text message. And he has it say, hi, contact first name. How's your week going? I had some availability open up in my schedule and wanted to check to see if you had wanted to see some homes. What times are best for you, mornings or afternoons? So this is kind of essentially his like finale to it and last main effort of like getting people to really sign with him, work with him. So this is how he finishes it. You obviously can alter it a little bit more as well. Totally up to you. Final text. And then say, for everybody that makes it through here, like you've gone through, it's exactly how you want it, what have you. What you can do if you want is add anybody who finishes to a new smart plan after that. So maybe everybody that goes through here, you add them to like a neighborhood nurture, like a once a month neighborhood nurture. If maybe like, and whether, you know, they're actively looking or not, you have them looking in that specific area where your original open house was, just to keep them updated on maybe what else is going on. Or you have a custom smart plan where, kind of like what Wendy was saying about the agent who checks in every few months, you could set up a once a month check-in, have them added to that smart plan for everyone who finishes. So that way, you know, you have kind of a continuing form of communication going, versus it just, you know, ending and never contacting them again. Because I mean, if they make it through, what did this one end up being? 23 days, 22 steps, 12 touches. If they make it through that whole thing, chances are they like what you're sending them. They like the information that's going through there. Even if they're maybe not responding, if they haven't unsubscribed completely, I say that's a good sign. So make sure you're setting them up on something afterwards. Any questions? That was obviously a lot. There's a lot of steps there, but really having those guides is such a godsend and so helpful. So at that point, it's more so about, and I'll turn my camera back on as well. At that point, it's more so just about kind of making it your own. Hello again. Making it your own, updating the verbiage to fit, you know, how you plan on talking to people, keeping in mind whether you plan on manually taking people off if they start to reach out to you, or if you just want to keep your verbiage very generic the whole time. So those are probably some of the things where I would say it becomes slightly more complicated than just copying and pasting what Nick has, but it's such like a good step-by-step guide. And I also recommend checking out the Zillow article because they include just like tips for like what kind of initial contacts to include, some different scripts. So maybe you like a script there better. So it's totally worth checking out both of those. And I know Joe, he mentioned in his class, like you can find 10 Days of Pain lead follow-up plans like kind of all over, but these are definitely two, you know, per, I like finding trusted agents who obviously like they're doing this sort of thing. Like those are his recommendations, Nick's recommendations. So pretty cool. And hopefully it's more tedious than it is complicated, I would say. Like if anything, your frustration isn't going to be because you can't do it. If you're frustrated, it's maybe just because it takes a little bit of time. But I mean, we've been able to go through this in an hour. It might take you an hour and a half to kind of update some of that verbiage, but all in all, it shouldn't take you all day. No. And then at that point, you have something that just works.
Yep. And you can set it and forget it.
That's right. So Mary, once you set this up this first initial time, you don't have to go through all of this again. It's set up and you're good to go. And then you can continually add all the people, all the Facebook leads just right to this plan.
Yes.
Yep. And then they start, if you added someone in there the next week, they would start on day one.
Day one. Yep. So it's not like it's very dynamic. Like it's not just about like who you add on day one. Like if you add somebody 5 days later, they're not going to be on day 5.
Gotcha. So it is the time that it takes to set it up. But once it's set up, you are good to go.
Good to go. And honestly, that's like the beauty of Command, I feel like, is that your designs, your website pages, like all those different things, like once they're up and running, like they're good to go, and you just kind of have to make like little tweaks here and there. You can replicate things. Like I replicate designs all the time. So it's one of those things that they obviously put a lot of thought into to make life a little bit easier. And so what I actually want to show, I just saved that. So I'm going to go back to my overall list, and the way that it shows up with all of these, like, and we have a lot of, like dummy ones here. Like obviously you can tell by the titles, it shows up at the end, which isn't my favorite thing. But I can see now, here's my smart plan. It shows me all of the tasks that are involved with it. I can add my contacts to it, and we can now confirm you can copy it. So like Wendy said, if you want one that's maybe neighborhood specific, all I would have to do, copy it. Maybe I say this one is I live in South Hopkins. And then I alter the neighborhood information to be about South Hopkins. And everything else stays the same. Takes you 5 to 10 minutes, and voila, you're good to go.
Cool. You know, that would be for use if like Tam, for example, who had the 73 leads off a specific ad, wanted to put all 73 of those on a follow-up for St. Michael.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and then she would go in and change that one text and add things, links to specific neighborhoods and landing pages, hit go. And you know, at that point, once you spend an hour and a half setting this up, now you have something that just with a click, you can get super specific. You can be hyper local with it. You can incorporate everything from your app to financing.
Yeah, awesome. I think this is, and it's set up in a really nice way. I like that you can do calls, texts, or emails. I mean, I think too, like once the email designer is a little bit more like advanced, that's going to be amazing. That's going to be your answer to creating like a fluffy email campaign, you know, like where you can do it directly in here. So and I come in here all the time just to see the updates and stuff. So as soon as I see those, I tend to share them with people, but
that's great.
But yeah.
How about video? I was just thinking, you know, I wonder if one of the touches, if you were a BombBomb subscriber, if you could have that integrated, or if you could make a video and have it embedded, because people are starting to do that.
Let's take a look. I don't think so. However, my thought here, and I just went in and edited my original that I just made, which is nice. You can always go back to it if you need to.
I'm going to look and see. I thought BombBomb was in our marketplace. So if you were someone who had a BombBomb subscription, so like if you have a Twilio subscription, it integrates. If you have a BombBomb subscription, would it integrate?
So my thought, and they actually have a couple prettier email templates in here, so keep that in mind, everybody. But my thought is when you set up an email template in Command, you can add video, if I'm not mistaken. So if you do the HTML version and you browse your library for a template that you created, although it's only showing KWRI templates, so I don't know if you can do custom email templates in here yet.
Okay.
So, and then simple, let's see, we can do links. So you could do a link to a video, but it doesn't look like you can embed directly in the simple email yet. Okay. So I'm guessing, but that's a great point. That's hopefully something that they would consider adding soon, just because that is such a value add for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's just that, you know, things that people were using, I know a couple of our teams had BombBomb, and so as soon as they connected with somebody and set an appointment, they automatically went on a plan that sent them a, hi, I can't wait to meet you, and it was a quick BombBomb introduction kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that now with COVID, there's starting to be so much more of that integration going on.
Yeah, but that's a great point.
Marketplace here to see if, because I did think it was in here, but I don't see it.
Which that may have been one of the ones where they talked about like that's like kind of up there when it comes to priority of getting that connected.
Yep.
So that would be awesome for sure, because BombBomb is pretty sweet. So but for any of you on the call, Mike and Maureen, I see you guys. I will send you those links to the resources that Wendy and I have been able to look at. Anybody watching this after, reach out to us. We'll have those links. We can send them directly to you as well. And then as always, like if you're going through here and you're running into any sort of issues, please let us know. I love that I can, you know, still on behalf of New American and Tanya, be able to meet with people, and even if it is via Zoom. So I love doing it.
Hey, Mary, what I'm thinking is once this recording completes and we have access to it, Paige will download it to our Facebook page.
Perfect.
Not our Facebook page, our
the YouTube
page. And then what we'll do is we'll take that link, the YouTube link, and post it in the Facebook page. And if you could put those other resources in the files on our Facebook page, and I will let people know, here's the video. The resources Mary references are in the files.
Perfect.
All
Yes,
right.
let's do it.
It's a plan.
All righty. Well, this was awesome. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, keep us posted with any questions that you have.
It was just great, Mary. Thank you so much. You're a terrific instructor.
You
Thanks
too.
for your time and your expertise.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.